Welcome to NAB2015. We've been working very hard, so we've got some exciting things to show you. Now, we're actually adding 38 different products to our price list this year, so we've been working for a couple of years on something, so it's all sort of come into the show. So I'll try and move fairly quickly so I can get through everything, because we have got a huge amount of time. So the first thing I want to talk about is 12G SDI. We've got a whole range of 12G SDI products this year. Broadcasters, when we introduced our first Ultra HD product with 6G SDI, the broadcasters told us that they wanted 60p. In fact, it's absolutely the most important thing they need. So Ultra HD is great, but it's not as important as 60p. So what we did is we used 12G SDI to solve the problem of doing up to 2160p 60. But the great thing about that is it's compatible with everything that you have. So you can do, obviously, using data, optical fiber connectors and things like that, but what you really want to do is plug all that Ultra HD equipment into the equipment you have. I mean, there's no point doing the World Cup and then putting all that equipment in the basement because you can't use it. The equipment we've got is only a few $100 or maybe a few $1,000s more than the HD equipment that we had a year ago. So we think that people can do high frame rate Ultra HD by using 12G SDI, and you can, but most of the time you can run a HD with it. So 12G SDI is really good. You can run it within racks, within the room, within equipment rooms. Now, if you want to go long distances, almost all our 12G equipment has optical fiber sockets, so you can add modules as you need and you can go up 4 floors. So it's great. And we also think that Ultra HD is really important. The broadcasters actually do want it, they just need 60p. And we all know what it's like to watch standard definition video nowadays when we're in an HD world. And we think that if you do production in Ultra HD, because we've got the entire ecosystem now, we think what you end up getting is a much nicer result, even if you're just using down converted HD out of the broadcast, but the content you're generating is preserved in Ultra HD, which means it's going to be syndicated over the years and it's going to have a long life. In 5 years' time, we're going to kick ourselves going, we didn't do that job in Ultra HD. So I think, to us, 12G SDI is a great solution for high frame rates, for fast action sports. So I'll go through quickly some of the products that we've got. Now, to start with capturing playback devices, we've got a new product called Ultra Studio 4K Extreme. It's the ultimate breakout box. It's got everything on it. But what we've done is, you can obviously, it's got everything on it, but we've also got, it's a Thunderbolt product with a PCI Express cable on it. So, the high-end Hollywood guys, the guys doing feature films want to go higher frame rates, they want high resolutions, even stereoscopic. So, you can plug in PCI Express, the optical fiber cable if you want the real speed, and you can kind of get around the Thunderbolt speed issue. But also, this product has a hardware codec in it. So we've got ProRes in the products, and record playback ProRes in the unit. But also, we're doing H.265 compression in the unit, which we're showing in front of the booth. And we've been working on that for a little while, and that will give us the ability to encode in real time H.265, which is the distribution format for Ultra HD, because it's much tighter than H.264, a very modern format. That's the format people are interested in using. You can see it's got and you can see we've got the back rec has come off, so it's a really good product for using on a desktop. It'll be available in July for $2,995. Now, another product we've got is Decklink 4K Pro, and I'll move through these products fairly quickly because we haven't got a lot of time. But this is a dual-link SDI in-out card. It's 12G SDI, so it gives you, the reason for dual-link is you can do fill and key. So you can build graphics stations out of it and do real-time fill and key. And it's only $595, so it's a good product for people building graphics workstations, and OEMs use it as well. Now I'll get into some of the more Ultra HD production equipment. Now we've got these products called Terranex Mini. We had a problem doing 12G mini converters because the converter can't get rid of the extra heat you get with 12G SDI, but we needed a range of mini converters that can do high frame rate Ultra HD. So what we did is we increased the size of the box a little bit and a little bit higher, and it gives us a bunch of really good advantages, and we think this is a really, it's sold up, we wanted to put screens and mini converters and things like that, and we really couldn't do it based on that shape. So with a little bit of extra height, we can build the power supply, so you get rid of all those power bricks, we can use normal XLR connectors, we've even got an Ethernet connector so you can remote administer the converter. But also the great thing is you can even power the converter from the Ethernet if you've got power and Ethernet switch, so you don't even need to plug the power in. So it's pretty cool. And of course, you can see it's really not very much bigger than a mini converter. If you look at the power supply, mini converters are actually quite cumbersome. So I think it's a really good form factor. But the really exciting thing is that we can take the front panel off and put a smart panel. It's only $85 and put a little screen on there. and you do all those settings through the menus. So the converter's got dip switches on the front, and there's a little label on the bottom showing what the switches are. But if you put the front panel on it, that'll actually hot plug, you can build when the converter's on. Then you can get all the displays up, and you can also see the audio levels and what video you're converting. So we think it's a much better form factor. You can see there it is with the panel off, and you can see it with the panel on. And you can, the great thing is they look great on the desk, so you can actually, instead of hiding the ducting behind the desk, you can use them on a desk. You see they look quite nice. Now, the other problem with converters, the rack converters have got speed limitations. With all those sockets and connectors, it's quite hard to move up in speed. So to get to 12G, we're having difficulty doing 3G on converters that are cars. And the other problem with cars, you can't use them separately. So these converters rack mount is like quite a cheap $145 shelf, and you can put up the 3 converters in there. And the good thing about that is that the shelf's quite low cost, so you don't have to fill the rack with cards. And you can take the converter out and just use it separately whenever you like. So, and of course you've got great redundancy, and you can power all converters off the Ethernet. So if you've got them all plugged into a switch, you don't need to plug any of the car cords in. You can see there they are rack mounted, and they look really great. Broadcasters can walk right up the front and push the buttons. And also there's the remote administration utility, so we've got a really nice utility to control the converters in the building. And we've also got the 12G SDI range. We've got to and from HDMI, to and from analog, and to and from audio, so SDI to audio and audio to SDI. We've also got a whole range of 12G optical fiber module as well. So we talk about optical connectors and optical fiber. So you can actually run optical fiber straight to the converter, which is fantastic when you're running optical monitoring all around the building. We've also got a 2ME broadcast switcher. This is a full 12G live production switcher, 20 inputs, every input's got a resynchronizer. The whole thing works in high frame rate Ultra HD. It's got DVE, super source, the whole thing. It's got bigger media pool. The multi-viewers are native Ultra HD, so they're really sharp. Very powerful switcher. It takes 6G inputs and I convert them to the high frame rates. It's a very powerful switcher. It's, I can't really do some of these products justice, it's got so little time and we've got to move on, but it's it'll be available in June for $5,995. That's $1,000 more than what our HD switcher was last year, so really not paying very much more for 12G to get all that high frame rate Ultra HD. And we've got a whole ecosystem. We've got a new talkback converter that manages talkback to all the cameras. You can run VC cables or optical fiber cables to the cameras, just depending if you have the optical fiber modules. This whole ecosystem of HyperDeck Studio 12G, which is a new 12G high frame rate on HyperDeck. You just put in a disk with high frame rate file on it, and it just switches over to 12G and plays back. You can put a disk in with an SD on it, it will just switch over to SD, SDI and play back. It's a great thing about 12G, it just plugs into everything you've got. So you can run these equipment every day, just doing normal HD work. And that'll be available for the 2495. Of course, you need a switcher, so we've got Smart Video 12G, 40x40. The problem with, this works exactly the same as our current switcher, the 40x40 we have, except it's 12G. So you put one of these in and it won't block the signal, it will route the signal through. It doesn't matter if SD, HD, Ultra HD, 3G, 6G, it'll do the lot. All simultaneously on the same router. And it'll be 4995. There it is in the back. It's exactly the same as the current switcher we have, it plugs straight in. This is actually one of the only 6G products we have. It's a clean switch. It's a 12x12 router with resynchronizers on all the inputs. So you can cleanly switch between sources if they're all completely out of sync. As long as it's the same video standard, you get a really clean switch out. And we all use that for driving big screens. A lot of times people use live production switches, but you use one of these. It's only $1,500. It'll be available next month. So we'll get to cameras, which is more flamboyant and exciting. So this is where I wanted to move through fairly quickly because I can explain a bit about why we've done some of the things we've done. The pocket camera was designed for handheld use. That's why we designed it. In fact, it was designed to be very small, very handheld, and a bit of a stealth digital film camera. But the problem is that people have been putting them in drones, they've been using them remotely, they've been putting them in cars when they're shooting it and seeing in the car. The difficulty is you can't see whether the camera's recording because you've kind of got your head jammed around the back trying to see if it's recording. What we actually needed to do is build a camera that had the controls on the front. Then you could see that you could hit record, you could see the tally lights on. You can tell it's recording, you can have a few mounted in a car. But that got our thinking going further, and we thought, well, we could put a real kind of hackable connect on it and do more than just, a much better camera design, similar, kind of product, in a sense is similar, but we could build something for this. And that's the big thing that we really wanted to do. And so we've reduced the size of the camera even more, we put controls on the front. But what's really exciting is we've got this awesome expansion port on the side. So we've got an Ultra, we've got a HD, it's a HD Super 16 camera with 13 slots at dynamic range. It looks really nice. It's got manual iris settings. You don't have the the iris going all over the place. Although we are going to add some automatic iris features to it. So it's a really nice compact digital film camera. It's got the tally light on the front, so you can tell it's recording when you've got them there in a car or in some other situation. And you've also got the record button on the front. But what I really love what we did is we put this expansion port on the side. You can see here's a great indication how small it is. It's a very tiny camera. You can see the tripod's bigger than the cameras. And if I move through, you can see the model aircraft have these servos. And this is the thing when you're thinking about what's a really cheap way of remote controlling a digital film camera. Well, you're going to make it small so you can hide it or put it in interesting places. But what you want to do is make it really easy to control and in fact really hack into it. And these model aircraft use these servos and they've got this PWM connection. And there's a little receiver in them. And what happens is it adjusts this servo backwards and forwards. Now we've got 4 of those on the micro cinema camera. So you plug that receiver into the camera and you can map all the camera controls across to the channels. And we've also got another type of camera control called S-Bus, which is the more, sort of some of the later model radio control sets use, and that's got 18 channels with one connection. So what that lets you do is control like lens iris, or you can control focus, or you can, of course, you can tell the camera to stop and start recording. This camera's got a raw recorder in it, or a ProRes recorder, so you don't want to just fill that media up just by trying to get your camera in position, particularly if it is on a drone. With this expansion connector, you can tell it to start recording, you can tell it to stop recording, and we've got that on the front of the booth, as you can see. But what's really fun about that is this is the most boring connector we can find. We wanted something that a $10 soldering iron, some guy could just solder up himself. You've even got a little pin on here with 5 volts on it from the battery of the camera, so you can wire a switch up and just like have a mechanical switch for recording and stop recording. But you can do all kinds of stuff, and you can do it remotely. And there's composite video out of here. So I think it's the first camera we've done with composite video out. So we've got a full-size HDMI, but you can put the little video transmitters in. It's got all the overlays on, the audio meters and the histograms, so you can see what the camera's doing when it's coming back. You can monitor it, you can know if it's recording, and then, of course, because you're recording in the camera raw, you've got incredible quality. And the sensor goes up to 30 frames a second global shutter, up to 60 frames a second in total with the rolling shutter. So you've got really very nice looking pictures. You can see we've got the SD card recording on the side. It's not a microphone, but you can see some of the uses that you can do in a car, on action cam type situations. A lot of people use the action cams for doing these kinds of shots. The problem is that it's a consumer products, whereas this you put whatever type of lens on you like, so you get a much more cinematic look. All kinds of different situations, and of course we've got them on drones on the front of the booth. So that'll be available in July for $9.95, and I think already from the people we're talking to, I think there's a million ideas that we can do with it. So it's going to be a really fun, crazy little camera, but I think it'll be really exciting to see what's being done with it. Similar image sensor to the pockets in the camera, so you're going to get that really nice looking stuff that we've been seeing. People have been producing some wonderful music videos and television shows and all those sorts of things with the camera, and this will really add to it because you've really intercut the material pretty nicely because it's a very simple sensor. So the big question, and this is a bit of a side thing, we thought, we've got a great chassis, what happens if we build it, could we build a studio camera out of it? So last year we did our studio camera 4K, which we've got a few down the back here recording. So all we did is we stripped the entire inside of the camera out, we put our studio camera 4K inside the chassis. There's nothing similar about these cameras at all, they're totally different, apart from the metal bracket on the front and the lens mount. But it's an Ultra HD sensor in there, it's a video sensor, not a digital film sensor. We've taken all the refrigeration and everything out, so we don't need that for a normal video camera. And the light on the front's a tally light. It's got obviously no record buttons, it doesn't record, it's got SDI connections on the side. And we can do, it's got an SDI input, so we can do all the camera control stuff that we do from the switches through. I've got one over here, and you can see if we cut to it, you'll actually see the tally light come on. If you guys can do that. There you go. So that's actually now filming all you guys, and we're recording that, so if the weird will catch it. But we've got all the camera control working in there, talkback is in there, because it's got a little headphone socket on. If you plug an iPhone headset in, you can talk back to the switcher guy, and it's great if you're setting the cameras up. But you can put those cameras on set, they can be hidden behind a pot, looking out at a wok as you're cooking in a cooking show, all kinds of things. But also, if you look at the side of the camera, it's got the same expansion port, but it's got different stuff on it. We actually have the S-Bus, funny enough, because it's only one connection, so we've got 18 channels of remote control. But we put B4 lens mount control on there. There's a little module you get. We've also put pen tilt zoom out. And so the commands come in through the serial port and then come out of the expansion ports. Because it's a different camera, it's a wide camera, it's normally wide in, so there's no point having a lot of remote control stuff because you don't remote control controller like the micro cinema camera, which is obviously a completely free camera that's fully featured inside the camera. This one is a studio camera, so it's wide in normally. So we've got different types of expansion. So you can do the same kind of cool things in Hacker-Later. And the S-Bus you could use on a microcontroller with a robotic camera head. You could use an underwater housing and put connections from to the so there is on a remote head. The control comes out straight into the remote head because the commands come in through the serial. And so it's all self-contained. And the battery in this case is really a backup battery. Because normally it's wide in power. And you can see here it is pinned out with a really big lens and a little module here that's got regulators that protects the lens from this voltage swings coming in. The camera's actually got, I think it's 12 to 18 or 20 volts of range. The specs on the website, but you don't want that to hit the lens, so a little regulator module there to protect the lens. But you can do that. That was one of the biggest feedback points we had last year, that people wanted to go and add a broad, similar, like an ENG lens to our studio cameras. So we have it on this one. And you can put a monitor on there and essentially build your own studio camera, because you can treat it as a camera head. So you can see it's got a shot you can get with it. You can really put it up close to the action, so it's pretty exciting, some of the uses you can use this for. And it's just, pepper the set with all kinds of different studio cameras. It's really quite an exciting thing. When you have more angles, it's actually a much more exciting production. They're fixed angles too, so they don't require a lot of extra staff, because they're just these lots of different interesting sort of positions and shots. Now we've got a new product. That camera is sort of essentially, sometimes you're going to want to put a recorder on it, so it got us thinking about using a small monitor and a recorder. So Blackmagic Video Assist it's a video assist, but also it lets you add professional recording, and it's a HD product, so you add professional recording and monitoring. It's a nice bright screen, all beautiful on-touch on-screen controls. Works with any SDI and HDMI camera. We've got it on the DSLR here. Well, I don't know why you use a DSLR, because we use our cameras. You see little SD cards along the side. See, it's all nice on-screen controls, very small. A couple of batteries on the back, and it'll run one battery all the way down before it uses the second battery. So you can hot plug the batteries, but if you power it on and one of the batteries is lower than the other, it'll keep hitting the lowest battery, so you don't have two batteries running low. So it's a good thing. It'll help you keep changing batteries so you can keep it running, because you might be recording something important. What's really good about this product too is that it is actually a 6G SDI in it, so it will actually monitor Ultra HD, because obviously the studio camera is Ultra HD. It'll down convert to record that to HD, but it is actually an Ultra HD monitor. And you can see, you can use it for lots of different things. It's particularly great on some of the cameras if you need an extra view on the top and the screen's not facing the right way. And also it's great for another record, say HD ProRes, and while the camera's recording RAW. So you can kind of do your job in HD, because that's what your client wants, but you're not quite sure if you might need to do something better, like maybe Ultra HD or even something in film. So you can record RAW inside the camera to preserve all the 4K, and you can move on and use the HD files for the normal job. That'll be available in July for $4.95. Okay, so I'll move a bit quicker, so we're moving on. We've got a great new viewfinder for Ursa. It's got a 3-element glass diopter, so it's beautifully accurate. It's got a full HD OLED screen. It's even got a sensor to turn it off when you're not using it, so you can really preserve the OLED life. It's so clean and the pixels are so sharp. I mean, you can't see the pixels. So it's like using an optical viewfinder. It's adjustable for left and right eye. It's got a full 360 adjustment. It's got menus in it. It's got focus peaking and zoom. It's got even a focus chart, so you can help focus it to your eye to make sure that then, of course, you've got perfect focus through the camera. It's just really, really nice. It looks great on this in terms of design for us. And it will be available in July for $4.95. So it's a really nice viewfinder. We're really happy with how it's come up. It's something we've been working on for a little while. We didn't really have it last year, but we've got it now, and it's really exciting. It's all magnesium, so it's really light. Now, I want to talk a little bit about, we've been working for a couple of years now on a new digital film sensor. And what we've got is, the new sensor's got, it's 4.6K, but it's 15 stops at dynamic range. It's really amazingly, I mean, we were shooting with it at night, there was some flame and everything, and we were looking at the camera, we could see more detail on the camera than we could with our eye. I mean, it's better than most film stocks. So we've spent a lot of money on this, but it's just so nice. It's just, I mean, I've got a sort of telecine background, and the original cinema camera was fantastic, but that wide dynamic range is something we wanted. Because, obviously all the guys doing Da Vinci Color needed all that range to be able to really bring out what they wanted it. It's been such a great thing having a cinema camera. Now they have this at 4.6K. And the great thing about 4.6K is it's enough extra resolution to make up for veil loss, but at the same time it's not too much extra resolution. You just have all this extra file all the time that you try and manage because it's recording this huge file. So it's a really nice size. It's got global rolling shutter, We can run global shutter up to, on Ursa, it'll run up to 120 frames a second rolling shutter. It'll run up to 60 frames a second global. So it's a little different to the 4K sensor. That 4K sensor runs at 120 global shutter. This is a bit of a compromise. And you can actually turn on global rolling shutter as well. So you get 15 stops at rolling shutter, slightly less on the global shutter. So you've got a bit of best of both, a bit of compromise to try and get both. So we're going to be introducing 2 new models of Ursa, the Ursa 4.6s, and both EF and PL. They'll be available in July. What we'd like to do is the upgrade is $2,000. So we've just reduced the price of the 4K Ursas by $1,000. The difference is actually the cost of the upgrade. So the great thing is people get into the 4K Ursa at the moment and then move up at the same price. But we want to we'll probably have these sensors really in volume late July, early August. But we will have a certain amount of volume up until then, which we'd like to kind of more divert towards the guys upgrading the Ursas. So the guys that bought the Ursas get a chance to get the upgrades first. But either way, we're hoping to get that online pretty soon. It's a wonderful sensor. So obviously, getting back to the original cinema camera, and we kind of talked about this a little bit last year. This camera was designed to be handheld. This is what we really designed it to be. It was, sort of like a DSLR usage case for us. But the thing that shocked us at the time is the number of people who were trying to use it in other ways, like, for example, like this. And, that wasn't really the way we designed it, so we had to get to work to solving that problem for everybody. And what we've done is we've built Ursa Mini, and it's taking everything we've kind of got from Ursa. It's half the frame rate, obviously it doesn't have all the screens and the scopes and things, but what we've got is a much more portable Ursa. Same sensors as Ursa, so all the material that cuts. Here it is here. This is the Ursa Mini with the accessory kit on it, and Peter's bringing it out with the whole thing. And it's great. I mean, it's just such a wonderful camera. It's been really fun to work on. What's also nice is the shoulder mount has the quick release in it. But if you don't add all that, you can just bolt it to the tripod. So it's got, I mean, I'll move through and I can show you. It's got the same viewfinder as the Ursa has, so it works with the same viewfinder. The same battery solutions. It's got this little, wonderful little full resolution HD screen on the side. It's very bright. It pivots around. It's got dual C-fast cards so we can record continuously, which is obviously what the current cinema camera can't do. It does up to 60 frames a second. It's also got, those 2 cards can be used in parallel if you want to record raw at high frame rates. So it's nice, they can work together. It's got 12 GSDI, so it's got the latest technology, it's got time code, it's got reference input. And so what we're seeing here is the accessory kit, which is $395. It's got the shoulder mount and the rosettes on the bottom and the handle at the top. It also comes with the extender rod, so you can move. There's a handle that comes on the side of it by default, and that's just normal rosette. So you can take the handle off and extend it down with the accessory kit on. Here's an example of the body, and you can see the handle on the side. Now it's got record controls and it works with playing. And so when you put that accessory kit on, you can take the handle off and move it down, but you can take the handle off and mount it to a crane or something like that as well, because it's proper rosette. And then of course when you put the shoulder kit on, you get 2 more. So it's nice, you put it on, so this camera is great, you can hand hold it, flip the screen out, hand on it is exactly like the current cinema camera body works, you get that same usage, but at the same time, then you put the accessory kit on, and get it on your shoulder, put it on the tripod, hand hold it, back on your shoulder, really mobile, really portable, it's all magnesium, so it's really light. The ones here we have to show are a bit heavier because they've got aluminium parts because they're prototype units, not full production units. We're in production now, but we'll be running up in sort of late July. Everything seems to be 25 weeks these days in electronics industry for some reason. You see we've got tons of net holes on the top, tons of net holes on the bottom. You can see a better shot of the handle there. We've got really nice microphones in the front as well. When you're hand holding a camera, you don't really want a lot of microphones hanging off it, it just adds to the ball. The trick is to try and build everything in. So the original Ursa philosophy was to build everything in, which we did. This one has got a similar philosophy to build everything in. And because of the same sensors between the cameras, you need to cut between the 2 cameras. So the Ursa's great for the larger crews. And if you look at, well, here's some usages. You can see it's the full digital film camera. There's nothing having about this at all. The sensor options are amazing. You've got all the same workflows and obviously the on-mount versions if you're running higher-end feature films. And you can hand-hold it really easily for all that single-point shooting type work. And at the same time, the thing that I'm really proud of is you can hand-hold it exactly the same way as the cinema camera works, which is a really big thing for me. I like that very intimate type of shooting. A lot of people bought cinema cameras purely for that, and that really kind of getting in small with it. When you don't want a large crew where there's some kind of tough scene for actors to deal with, so being able to get with a very small, lightweight camera is important, but then suddenly you put the rig on it and it becomes big. So it's a very kind of, flexible design. It can be one thing or the other. And, the other thing, of course, that's close to my heart is being able to deal with indie filmmakers and really have that sort of indie filmmaker guys coming up. And, they can work with a true digital film camera. If you look at the cameras you get, this camera starts at $3,000 for the 4K Century EF. It's $2,995. If you look at what you get at that, it's basically a consumer camera that's just big and plastic, and it looks like a professional camera. It's even a little box in the front to make it look like a filming camera, but it's really a basic consumer camera. And it's just sort of a bland product line of and it also traps you, holds people down. You get locked into this. Oh, I think this is like, I'm doing a wedding and I've got this thing, this plastic camera. I mean, if we could make a magnesium digital film camera with dual recorders and wide dynamic range and all these features, and a bunch of 20-year-old kids buy it and start doing indie film, and someone says to them, hey, that's a really great thing. Can I fund that? We'll get a professional finish, we'll bring it into a post facility, really colour grade up. All their content's fine. And half the time these guys don't really quite realise what they're getting, and that's really exciting. And suddenly, before you know it, they've turned in, they've done some wonderful indie film. It's getting coverage, it's going all over the place, and they've made money out of it. And the industry gets bigger, and there's more stories to be told. So I think this, to me, is the thing that always thrills me the most. I mean, I love what we do. When I look at Da Vinci, it's all the Hollywood movies, and all this stuff is great. I mean, these guys are smart, exciting, they do cutting-edge stuff. And then when we can bring some of that to these guys, that's just thrilling. It's very exciting for us. So I really always like that. So obviously, where does that sit? Ursa? Well, there's differences obviously between the two, and they're part of the same family. They can be obviously used together. Ursa is much more for a larger crew, or someone who needs to bring the on-set monitors and all that stuff and scopes and everything with them. So the same philosophy is still there. Obviously, Ursa's got more performance. It's bigger in size, so we can do 120 frames a second versus 60. That's a 10-inch screen versus a 5. Ursa's got scope. It's got 3 screens actually on it, whereas the Ursa's got one. With the same battery solution, same viewfinder solution. They've both got 12G. You can see the other angle here. Obviously got the audio meters, much more user-friendly stuff. You've got a crew member on the other side of the camera. You can see what they're shooting on here, because that screen changes to video. Obviously, it doesn't have that, but much smaller. And you can see, obviously, this is upgradable. And I heard a few people saying, "Oh, yeah, Blackmagic will never upgrade this camera," but this is why we did this last year. We were never sure when this sensor was going to come online. Here it is. So now you're going to have the ability to upgrade it. I think that'll be really exciting. It is user upgradable. You have to be a little careful. There is a thermal block in here, and you need to thermally, there's a little thermal pad that comes with it. So we'll have a nice video for the customers to show them exactly how to do this, because others, we don't want them to get the thermal bit wrong over the camera. But it's pretty easy to do. This is 4 volts. So they'll be able to do that. You can see on the side there, they're both in the monitoring position, but the audio's on the top for this mini. There's balanced X-Lite audio, but there's none at the top. So you can plug the microphones down through the top. So there's the camera. These are shown without the handle, but the side handle comes with it. So the 4K EF and PL, so it's $2,995 for 4K EF. And the 4.6Ks are basically $2,000 more. So you'll see you buy the sensor type you need when you order it. So the last thing quickly to cover, and I really obviously don't have enough time to talk about this, but Resolve has had a massive update. I think we've done more in the last year than what we've done in 5 years. We've had almost 100 people working on Resolve. Obviously everyone told us they wanted more editing. We've added multicam, we've added audio plugins, third-party audio plugins, and you can edit them all in the timeline. We've got the most ridiculous, amazing number of trim modes. I mean, there's one of the demos the guys have got a whole bunch of frames of title sequences, and you can select all of them, adjust the overall duration, the whole proportion, adjust. You can slip and slide multiple clips at the same time. You've got, you can drag, all the little things, which is important to me, like just being on drag linear from the timeline, from the finest straight into the timeline. You've got motion paths on screen, you can adjust them, and all the parameters will pop out. There's smart folders. There's so much stuff in Resolve 12, and the UI is much, much more refined. We think we've got a really nice look now. So I really encourage you to check that out on the front of the booth. But we've also put a video on the SD card and press kits that show you what's new in DaVinci Resolve. To me, it's one of the biggest bits of news at the show. I just don't have enough time to get somebody to demo it for you, but it really is amazing. You can see the UI is really quite nice. We've improved, there's all the usual things. We've got feedback from customers, larger curve palettes. You can select multiple clips and they can all be matched in the grades. There's a near 3D keyer in there, so you can drag lines and key, and then you can apply that key to all the layers in the composite. You can apply the color grade up and down the layers in there. You can see all the parameter adjustments here. And audio, it's got an audio mixer in it, so when you're playing back, you can actually adjust the audio mixer channels. It will vary the curve up and down on the audio level. I mean, it's got full multicam in there, which I can show you a slide of that. There's multicam running, so you create a multicam clip, and you're just cutting away, just like a switcher. It works exactly the same. It's really cool. It can synchronize all the clips with sound or time code or the start of the clip. So it's awesome. There's the media. There's a whole lot of media stuff. So, you're trying to hurry me up, mate. So you've got, you can deliver out to Pro Tools and build up like one file with all the audio and a guide track video, all out to Pro Tools. So I mean, it's just, there's so much in here, it's nuts. So that's really great. I mean, I really encourage you to check that out. It's one of the biggest updates, of course, because we don't have time to demo it here. The camera's a little bit more visible in some ways, but the DaVinci update's been huge. And I feel like we've finally got the world's best editor. And it's even got more collaboration with other apps like Final Cut, because as we do more editing, you can actually make everything work. Because these days you've got a lot of freelance guys coming in a facility, working on a job, they're moving somewhere else. You want people to not have to come in and use the company standard, they want to come in and use the tool they know. So let everyone work on the tool they know, and then DaVinci will just make the whole thing work together. So the more editing we do, actually the more collaboration we got. So it's awesome, it's just, that's what people want. They don't want companies fighting each other, they want companies working together so they can just go home. They don't want to struggle between the tools, they just want to go home after their job, spend all their energy on the cool thing that they like to do, which is the creative bit, and go home. You know, they don't want to spend use up all their energy just trying to make the tools work. So that's really important. And the last little bit, just a quick note, is we've got DaVinci, we've got Fusion working on Mac. When we bought Fusion, it's actually really good code base, but the UI code was Windows dependent. So we pulled that out, we were replacing it, and we've now got portability in the code base, and we'll hopefully finish that up mid-year, but we'll be doing Linux, Mac, and Windows, so we're going to release it on all three platforms. I think that'll be really nice, because again, people can use the platforms that they have, and they can just get Fusion working. I really hope it's a revolution in visual effects. So we're really just at the very start of that, but I think it's going to be very exciting. So I want to thank you guys for supporting us. Everything you guys have done to help us and everything we sell, we play our right back in developing products. It's a shame we don't have enough time to go through things in more detail, but thank you for coming, and I really appreciate all your help with us over the years. And then the handle comes with it.
Hey Grant, what's